Happily married publisher Lindsay Wagner romances surly author Jack Scalia on BBC Two shortly in the romantic film The Other Lover. Here on One in 35 minutes, Panorama presents the first in-depth television profile of Saddam Hussein, and with the help of eyewitnesses and some of the victims of his rule, the programme sheds new light on the Iraqi dictator's career. First on BBC One, the 9 o'clock news with Michael Burke.
President Bush has just said the air war against Iraq will continue for a while. The Iraqis say that more than 6,000 civilians have been killed in the Gulf War. But the Allies again insist their bombing has avoided civilian targets. And here, 50 firms a day are going bankrupt as the recession deepens. Good evening. In Washington, America's two military leaders, Defense Secretary Dick Cheney and General Colin Powell, have just finished a meeting with President Bush. They're briefing him on the latest information from the Gulf. On the basis of what they have been saying to him, Mr. Bush will decide when to launch a ground attack against Saddam Hussein's army. And just a few moments ago, Mr. Bush said the air war will continue for a while. The alliance in the Gulf was in no hurry to begin a ground war, he said. The Iraqis say that Allied bombing has killed between 6,000 and 7,000 civilians. Their diplomats abroad, their ministers in Baghdad, and the Islamic equivalent of the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, are all tonight saying that the number of civilian dead is far greater than their earlier estimates. On day 26 of the war, Iraq fired Scud missiles at Israel and Saudi Arabia. There were no reported casualties. The Americans say the air campaign has intensified, 2,900 sorties in the last 24 hours. They say they've destroyed 4 more Scud mobile launchers. A Royal Navy Lynx helicopter has hit an Iraqi patrol boat near Failakha Island. The Saudis say they're now holding more than 1,000 Iraqi prisoners. 300 Afghan Mujahideen guerrillas have joined the war against Iraq, and the Soviet Special Envoy Yevgeny Primakov has arrived in Baghdad for talks. An American military spokesman in the Saudi Arabian capital Riyadh told reporters that 2,900 sorties were flown in the past 24 hours. The Allies have again been saying that their pilots are being careful to avoid civilian casualties.
As the air campaign intensifies in preparation for action on the ground, controversy is developing about the effects of the bombing on Iraqi civilian life. At today's British military briefing in Riyadh, the spokesman, Niall Irving, went out of his way to demonstrate the precision of the Allied attacks. He showed a video of a raid on an oil storage installation in Iraq, the crosshairs of the laser on an RAF Buccaneer guiding a bomb to a particular tank. Another attack on a bridge was called off, he said, because the pilots couldn't be sure of striking this accurately.
That's the sort of responsible approach that the crews at the front line are taking, and that reflects the responsibility of the targeters to ensure that we do this, as I say, with the absolute minimum of civilian casualties. As I said before, we can't always guarantee that there won't be any, but we are minimising it.
Most sensitive of all is the bombing of Basra, Iraq's second city. The Iraqis say civilians there are being targeted deliberately, a claim Allied commanders of course deny, though today an American spokesman felt the need to make a special point about Basra, how its civilian areas contain military targets.
Basra is a military town in the true sense. It is astride a major naval base and port facility. The infrastructure, military infrastructure, is closely interwoven within the city of Basra itself. Our pilots, again, I would stress, go to extraordinary lengths to try to avoid collateral and civilian damage. In most cases, they've been very, very successful.
For the forces in the desert planning their role in this campaign, the bombing has a particular value, and the commander of the British 4th Armoured Brigade asks his officers gathered here to explain it to their men.
The longer the air campaign goes on, the quicker they will get home, and the more of them will get home.
A reminder of the value of air power came today when a wrecked Iraqi tank, evidence of an incursion, was discovered by an American unit on patrol. Surprisingly, the tank was fitted with a laser rangefinder, a significant asset in a ground battle. but no help against a force with air supremacy.
There have been two separate claims that the number of Iraqi civilians killed by Allied bombing now runs into thousands, and not a few hundred, as the Iraqis have previously said. The first such claim came from Abdullah Fadel, Iraq's religious affairs minister. The second was from the former